In this webinar, we will explore the international intersection between climate change and health, discussing key risks, challenges, and potential solutions from multiple perspectives. We are honored to have distinguished experts with us today who will share the insights and research findings in order of preelections. Weronika Michalak from Health and Environmental Alliance, Dr. Magdalena Budziszewska from Faculty of Psychology at the University of Warsaw, Dr. Aneta Affelt from Interdisciplinary Center for Mathematical and Computational Modeling at the University of Warsaw, Anna Gabrońska, Project Coordinator at EIT Health in Nostars, and together Aneta Andrzejczyk, Deputy Director of the Office for Research Strategies and Development, and Professor Przemysław Kardas from Medical Adherence Research Center, both speakers from Medical University of Łódź. Before we begin, I would like to go over a few technical details. The webinar will last approximately 2 hours, including a dedicated Q&A session at the end. We encourage you to submit your questions in the chat during the presentations, and we will address them in the Q&A session. The event is being recorded and will be also available later online. So without further ado, let's begin our session. It's my pleasure to introduce our first speaker, Weronika Michalak from the Health and Environment Alliance, who will start our exploration of the subject, how climate change affects our health. Weronika, the stage is yours.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for inviting me to speak at this webinar. I will now try to share my presentation. And I would appreciate your feedback whether it's visible. Okay.
Yeah.
So, I will start speaking about climate change and health, which is actually the topic of the webinar itself. The title of my speech is How Does Climate Change Affect Our Health? Because it affects the health of us all. On the top of the slide, you can see the picture that you probably know if you know something, and I hope you do, about climate change, meaning that the concentration of the greenhouse gases is the highest in the history, and it's threatening us in many ways. I won't have the time to explain the topic of the climate change, but I guess that since we speak about its health impacts, it won't be necessary, although I will refer to some direct consequences of the climate change that impact our health. One slide about the organization that I do represent. We are called Health and Environment Alliance. We are an international organization gathering over 80 other organizations across the 53 countries of the WHO European region, and our motto is working for better health through a healthier environment. We do associate doctors associations, patient groups, nurses associations, public health institutes, research institutes, non-for-profit health insurers, women's groups, YAF groups, and environmental groups. I think that these YAF groups are really important here when we speak in the webinar that is organized in frame of the Erasmus project. As I said, our motto is working for this better public health for a healthier environment, and we do work in different areas of the environment that impact human health. Two of them that we are focusing, especially in Poland, is air pollution and climate change. And about climate change, I'm gonna speak in the next part of this presentation. As we work closely with the WHO, firstly, I'd like to quote Dr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, the WHO Director General, who many times highlighted that climate crisis is a health problem. That's a quote from December 2024, when he very clearly underline that the climate crisis is multifaceted from perspective of the WHO, and it is fundamentally a health crisis. It is among the most significant health challenges facing humanity today. And it's not only a hypothetical crisis in the future, it is here and it is now. I think that it couldn't be stated stronger. And we know that climate change has consequences in all the countries in the whole world, in all the continents, and we all feel it in our everyday lives, sometimes even not knowing that we are experiencing some consequences of the climate change. When I started working in the NGO community, it was over 10 years ago, around 15 years ago. Honestly, the first association with the climate change was this kind of picture. Of course, it's true, and it's a big problem for the ecosystems, of course, causing the situation where the polar bears, are cut off their, for example, sources of food. But how we see the climate change from the health perspective is this. These are hospitals full of people. These are people suffering. These are very big external health costs of this process. And here I'd like to present you a slide that is trying to summarize the impacts of climate change. And it's not a full picture. There are many, many factors that impact health and are connected with climate change. In the center of this slide, you can see, of course, stating that impacts of climate change are there for human health. And you can see four main areas how the climate change impacts the environment, meaning, first of all, rising temperatures, then increasing GHG levels. Of course, it's interconnected with all the processes, rising sea levels, and more extreme weather events. What we could add here is also impacting the environment in a way that, for example, the vegetation process is shorter and areas of some particular plants and fauna and flora is changing, and it's also impacting our health. Starting from the top left, how it can impact our health. So first of all, increasing allergens and air pollution that can cause asthma, allergies, cardiovascular, and respiratory diseases. I would like to highlight here that air pollution is somehow coexisting process to climate change. It's not directly a consequence of this, but it's also very much connected with burning fossil fuels that cause also a very high level of air pollution all around the world, and it is estimated that 7 million people die prematurely each year due to air pollution. Then we have extreme heat. You probably all experience these summer heat waves, at least in Europe. It is noted that in our continent is the fastest, the temperatures in summers are changing the fastest, and we are those most experienced or we are impacted to this extreme heat in the summer periods. So extreme heat can cause heat-related illnesses and death and cardiovascular failure, also other health consequences amongst many most vulnerable groups, which are elderly people, children, pregnant women, and also people already suffering from some chronic diseases. Then the rising level of temperatures causes droughts, water supply impacts, dust storms, also connected with air pollution, and even valley fever. Then the environmental degradation very often is connected with some conflicts, social conflicts, which can result in forced migration, loss of jobs and income, and even wars that, for example, appeared in Syria, and it is very much connected, its genesis with the accelerating climate change. Then we have wildfires and wildfire smoke, which is a direct risk to human health and can also cause some injuries, fatalities, loss of homes, cardiovascular, and respiratory diseases. Then degraded living conditions and social inequities and inequalities, which is kind of a feature of all environmental factors impacting human health. As a result, we can see exacerbation of racial and health inequities and vulnerabilities and loss of employment. Then changes in vector ecology, meaning spreading of infectious diseases, so-called vector-borne diseases like Lyme disease, very common in Europe, West Nile virus, hantavirus, malaria, encephalitis, or, for example, dengue fever. The climate change impacts food systems, which can cause food security threats, leading to malnutrition, higher prices of food or foodborne illnesses. The next area is severe weather and floods, which can cause direct injuries, fatalities, loss of homes, indoor fungi, and mold, having more health consequences. Then we have water quality impacts, for example, harmful algal blooms, campylobacteriosis or cryptosporidiosis or leptosporidiosis, and many more water quality related diseases. I would like to come back to the central circle where we have also mental health impacts. It's a very important areas, and I know that the next presentation will be also concerning this issue. And climate change is a big threat to human health. It can be associated with stress, anxiety, depression, sense of loss, PTSD, or strains of social relationships. So there is a huge range of consequences that we are not even aware in our everyday life. I'd like to go to the next slide. Here, I like to highlight the climate-related diseases category as a new category that is developing, and it includes more and more health issues. You can see a list on the left side, starting from Lyme disease, dengue fever, vector-borne diseases like malaria or West Nile fever, then salmonella, respiratory failure, circulatory failure, heart strokes, chronic diarrhea, especially in children, malnutrition, hypothermia, asthma, allergies, mental disorders that I've mentioned, then poisoning injuries, fractures, skin neoplasm, and it's not a full list. So there are many more that are every couple of months being counted as climate-related diseases, because when we are aware of what's exactly the main factor for this disease, and when it's connected with the climate change, it can be categorized as climate-related condition. I'm mindful of the time. I still have a couple of minutes. What I would like to stress here is that many organizations and programs are focused on tracking progresses on health and climate change. And here, the first one that I want to highlight is the Lancet Countdown Project. For years, it's been tracking the progress of climate change health impacts in over 50 different categories. And unfortunately, the conclusions are very positive, are mainly pessimistic, because we can see that climate change health impacts are worsening. Also, WHO, as I mentioned in the beginning of my presentation, directly relates to this issue as the biggest environmental threat for the public health of currently living people. And it is exactly the first point here. So it is the greatest environmental threat to human health and life. Between 2030 and 2050, so the next decades, climate change is expected to cause approximately 250,000 additional deaths per year from malnutrition, malaria, diarrhea, and stress alone. And here, it's worth adding that it's definitely underestimated, because some of the consequences we are not tracking, and we are not aware that these are also, these particular cases are also counted as climate-related diseases and consequences. I've mentioned earlier the most vulnerable groups that you can see in the third point. And Then I like to say about water scarcity. 920 million children today face water scarcity, and we know that it will worsen due to climate change because of the frequency of droughts, contamination of water supplies, water salinity in coastal areas. In 2023, the global potential income loss from labor capacity reduction due to extreme heat, only extreme heat, so only one area, was $835 billion. So speaking about external health costs, is also very important that we remember that it's underestimated. These are really huge costs that we are not even able to calculate in total. But the WHO estimates that every US dollar spent on specific climate change and health actions will bring an average return of $4. So every investment will bring additional benefits apart from protecting people from suffering and premature deaths. And the last two slides, coming back to WHO general statement, maybe with some hope about addressing this problem. So addressing the climate crisis is about urgently protecting people, place, and planet for a healthier world now and for the future will be for our children. Here, only to letting you know that there are many initiatives and many organizations, as I mentioned, involved in climate action for protecting the public health. A couple of years ago in Poland, we've launched the first ever Polish Doctors' Call for Climate Action, called Doctors for Climate. And there are initiatives like this all around the world. Health experts gather, unify, and come together to speak about health consequences of climate change and the need of action, meaning that climate action is health protection, as is the climate change is the single biggest threat of the 21st century. And we have identified concrete actions that would protect public health against climate change consequences. It's raising awareness with policymakers and the public about the health impacts of climate change, presenting the latest evidence on the health threat from climate change and the benefits of climate action, advocating on mitigation and adaptation measures, and pursuing efforts to decrease the climate footprint of the health sector. I'll be happy to respond to any questions that might appear right now. Thank you very much. I'm also available for your further questions by giving my direct email address. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Veronika, for these valuable insights for the start. Next, we have Dr. Magdalena Budziszewska from Faculty of Psychology at the University of Warsaw, who will talk about living with the environmental crisis, particularly the psychological impacts such as climate anxiety and depression. Dr. Magdalena, please go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, and thank you, Veronika, for a quite nice introduction. The curious thing about climate change is that usually if we face anxiety or some irrational fears regarding health or environmental problem, they very often come from people who are not really informed. That's the case about the vaccines or many other like air pollution things. However, climate change is quite different thing, and that's very interesting because people who experience the most difficult emotions about climate change are actually the people who are very well informed. So that's a very interesting difference. And as you look at my slides, you see that actually understanding climate change is kind of difficult thing. You need to understand the order of magnitude, you need to understand the globality, you need to understand time scales on which this operates, and this is something most people don't really understand, and very complex economic and psychological and social processes connected to climate change. So once you understand this, actually your life is going to be difficult. And as an example, as in I guess few years ago, this theme of climate change was becoming so very popular with the media and with the press. The first patients that actually came to us with climate anxiety and climate depression, meaning they couldn't cope with the awareness of climate change, there were actually mostly scientists and journalists. So people who were really well informed about this, who have access to the newest knowledge, often very well off, like very confident and very intelligent people, and they were like the first signalist about how difficult is this going to become. And Timothy Morton calls climate change actually hyper-object, so something that is so vast, so huge in both temporal and spatial dimensions, that basically is kind of, it's not an elephant in the room. Actually, the room is pretty much all elephant. It's a poem with the elephant like this. So another word for this would be polycrisis, not only hyper-object, but also polycrisis, meaning all other crises like health crisis, like economic crisis, like inflation, like also what we see in politics or with misinformation are kind of the different side of the same thing. And if you are becoming aware of all these things, then actually coping with this is difficult from a psychological side. So here are a few emotional challenges to understanding climate change. And for example, it's a threat for our idea that we have a safe future, something that basically, I was raised and born in the 90s, and the 90s were very optimistic time in Poland. Like people believed the future will be all better. Poland was becoming the member of European Union. The world was enjoying more and more peace. Inequality was better. Poverty was better. So these were optimistic times. However, if we think about students and young people now, actually they mostly expect, and they have a reason for this, to expect their future is not going to be better and better. Actually, they expect they have it worse than their parents, and safety is, safety is rare even in very safe countries. So one other thing is that our knowledge about the world, for example, believing in progress, in a good human nature, is often also challenged by the awareness of climate change, because the idea that humans could be so powerful as to kind of destroy Earth climate, which is kind of life support system for the planet, is basically very threatening. People kind of defend against it. It's basically for them as if they were motivated for ignorance. Also, something which is very psychologically important for humans, so we need to have a sense of personal efficacy, so we can work and do stuff on things. But climate change, being actually this global hyper-object polycrisis context, is kind of too big to be influenced by individuals. So many people basically feel that the very difficult thing about climate change is that they don't really feel they can do something about this, because it's kind of massive. Another thing is we would like to feel pride in our collective identities, like for example nations like Poland or humanity. But if we think in terms of climate change, then we, for example, need to say that Poland, taking historical emissions into account, is among the most important polluters, so and very dependent on very, like, I don't know, old school energy systems which were not reformed, which is a problem. So it's difficult to be proud about one country, but actually it's also difficult to be proud about humanity. And this is kind of psychologically difficult. We would prefer to be proud of our achievements and human race, and climate change is coming in the way. Also, climate change makes many people feel guilty because we all participate in this carbon-intense lifestyle with vacations, with cars, with big houses, with everything. And that's not so easy as to say, okay, then we become more moral and we will not participate in that, because the society is structured in a way that it's not a real choice that you say, okay, I'm not going to participate. If we change, we need to change the whole systems rather to say to individuals that they could participate. But because we participate in that, it is very difficult for us to acknowledge climate change because there is ambivalence and there is guilt. So as a result, what we see is humanity and also societies like Polish society, but you would also say American society and many global societies. It's not only those countries, also Russia or Turkey or everything, have very high proportion of people who basically deny the science. Like they say, no, that we don't believe the science now. We don't want to believe this. And as we speak, Donald Trump is basically firing employees of NASA and NOAA, both American organization providing information on climate change. So you could understand this as a denial saying, okay, if we fire scientists, then maybe we don't have the problem. So it's a reaction which is, of course, very stupid, but you can understand it by the way that climate change is so difficult that denial seems fast the easier option. Or what Sally Weintraub calls culture of anchor. So people know, but they say, well, I don't care. It's, I don't know, maybe I'm lucky and it's after I'm dead problem. However, it's not after you are dead problem, except if you are very, very, very old. And because this, like the impact of climate change are basically hitting already in many places in the planet Earth, and they will be worse in the lifetime of current generation. And by current generation, I don't mean children and young people. I actually think it's my generation. So we're going to see it. And lots of psychological associations, they basically produced reports and analysis and advice for things like psychological effects and coping. And I think Veronika has mentioned already some of these. But in terms of psychology, we think about two kinds of impact. And one is direct impact. So people who first person are witnessing things like extreme weather events, but also things like you could lose your job, or if you work in agriculture, you could face the perspective that you can no more produce, which causes kind of consequences, not because we worry about climate change, but basically because you are losing your ways of life. But what is maybe more interesting for this seminar is what we call indirect consequences. So consequences of people who have not witnessed first person this weather impacts, but they witness like mediated or the gradual or awareness of all of these things. And in this group, there is a lot of anxiety and other difficult feeling because we are kind of forced to watch it and know it's going to come and still feel helpless. So two important and much studied emotions, climate anxiety is actually a big topic in psychology. So it's anxiety and depression. And first, anxiety is very popular, especially in the younger generation, but also with older ones. And we often think anxiety as something unpleasant. However, if you are anxious about things that are real, this can be actually an adaptive response. So in some terms, it's actually better to feel anxiety if something real is coming than, for example, to be in denial and say it's not coming. And this is because once you feel anxious about realistic threats, you basically can prepare for that. And also societies can prepare, they can adapt, they can work on their, I don't know, energy, water, safety. They can think about heat impacts for cities. So there is a lot we could do in terms of adaptation. So basically, anxiety seems unpleasant, but it's kind of really adaptive emotions. And there was a lot also of talk about climate depression. So people say, okay, that's too difficult. Let's resign. It's nothing to do. However, many authors point out that some amount of grief or sadness is actually very appropriate to the situation we are facing. So again, if there is real loss, and we face lots of climate-related real loss already, feeling sad about this is actually more adaptive than, again, being in denial or being in ha ha ha, no, it's not happening, let's be happy, because the other one seems to be delusional. So as we don't think it's basically wrong for people to be sad if there is war and they lose their relative or household, we also think some actually sadness and grief and loss are actually also adaptive emotions for climate change. And one of their important things, they actually bring people together. And maybe another, actually, Michalina Marczak and co-authors studied climate emotions in Poland and Norway and come with the model in which you have sadness and fear as things that people very often feel, but you also have a third big one, and this is anger. And anger is very interesting. We often think anger is basically dangerous also in political context, but several authors found that people who feel angry about climate change, about those who deny it, about those who contribute to it, about politicians who don't act on it, actually are highly motivated to act. So anger can be basically a driver for collective action, which is a good side of anger. And as my finishing idea, this is an essay. It calls I Want a Better Catastrophe flowchart. You can find it on the internet, and it's also on the slide. And that's just a screenshot from this essay. And it plays with the idea, how could we help people to cope with that? And this particular example comes from existential psychology, so from the idea that even in very difficult times, people do have kind of choice about how do I react to something very difficult. And the difficult things are going to happen, like wars and crises and I don't know, and climate change. And as we know they are going to happen, we can basically think of ourselves as having a choice of our internal reaction for this. As an example, I could choose to think this is so difficult and nobody understands, so I'm going to sit alone and feel very alone in the society who is crazy and nobody understands. Or I could think, okay, there is denial, but at the same time, there's a lot of people who really care. And I could decide to go in community with these people and be together to do something or work together. And this is how choice operates. It allows me to find my own position to this, and it could be I don't know, it could be making jokes, some tragicomical stuff, because our modern catastrophes, they they have this side, but it can be stoical, or it can be gratitude, or it can be creativity. So with this, I think I'm going to stop here maybe as final idea. And of course, this fits into what is called One Health model. Sorry for my voice. I have a flu actually. In this model, we see that health is basically, it needs healthy environment, but needs healthy society, and it needs healthy ecosystems and healthy human, and it needs also a healthy psychology. So it all comes together. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your thoughtful, provoking presentation, and I hope you will get well soon. Meanwhile, we have our third speaker, Dr. Aneta Affelt from the Interdisciplinary Center for Mathematical and Computational Modeling at the University of Warsaw. She will discuss urban thermal comfort, reality, and challenges. Dr. Affelt, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Piotr. Hello to everyone, and thank you for Magdalena for excellent and extremely interesting presentation. Please let me agree with you that action and cooperation really matters in the time of climate change, and there are spaces there is objective where we can work together, and we can do our life and our comfort reasonably better. And it's in some way this is the message I would like to present. From more general point of view, and as I'm a geographer working with socio-ecosystem viability kernel and the quality of the planetary ecosystem, as we know, we live presently at the Anthropocene. So geologists are claiming that it started at the mid of 20th century. Of course, this is the snowball circumstances, but why the 1950 was such a significant? First, in this moment started the economical and technological increase, which is coming as well with the population increase, but as it is shown on the diagram, the economical and technical dynamic of the development is much more dynamic than the population growth, but at the same time that gives many different speedness globally for the growth dynamic. If we are speaking about the cities, this is a very simple map showing the percentage of urban population globally. As we can see, our part of the world we are speaking from, so Poland, Europe, we are quite well balanced. But there are also countries like North and South America or Australia, where the city population is quite high, is over 80%. And other perspective for this view is that we have also mega cities and large cities, which the number of citizens is over even 10 million, like Mexico, like some cities in India, but as well in Europe, like Moscow, like London, like Paris. Why I'm speaking about that? Because city is a kind of ecosystem of our everyday life. In Poland, 62% of the population lives at the cities. Our city structure is quite good because we managed to avoid a big, really high number of inhabitant cities. We live mostly at the cities around 100,000 and smaller. That has a consequences. Why? If we will see to the urban fabric, like in New Delhi or Mexico City, we cannot even imagine what is the quality of life inhabitants are facing. Not only the air pollution, but also lack of green area, like lack of spaces to get relaxed, to get some being out of the tension. It is also partially a problem of Warsaw, especially when we are running, starting early morning to late nights, and we don't really find a moment to get cool down and relax a bit. But about the city thermal comfort. What is the reality and what are the challenges? It was already mentioned about the problems of climate change we are facing nowadays. But the city looks like those problems are accelerating. So from the health point, we have allergies in children. This is really a health problem, not coming only from pollution, but also from the specificity of the lifestyle at the city. Of course, the cardiovascular problems, mental illness, obesity, chronic fatigue, and so on. But if we will look more detailedly, what is the impact of the city and what is our response to the city structure or city ecosystem? The question is, what is your climate, my city? So how do I feel at the city, at the place I live, and at the places or streams where my activity is linked with? From this perspective, I would like to consider some interesting standpoint that the comfort at the city and the health level is not necessarily linked with the size of the city. There are some physical processes which are running at the city fabric independently from the city size. So do not thinking about the Bangkok, Paris, Warsaw as the big cities, but to concentrate on the medium size and small cities, like for instance, Wołomin, which is the part of the agglomeration of Warsaw, or Żory, a part of agglomeration of Upper Silesia. Let's see how we can look for the thermal comfort in this kind of size of the cities, which for us are quite familiar. So first step, what we can model? We can recognize and model in really local scale, 30 to 30 meters, the characteristic of local climate, microclimate, or what we call the topoclimate. So we can recognize it, classify it, and under this micro scale circumstances, we can go to model the response of each 30 to 30 meters area of our cities, how we will feel the air temperature and what will be our biometeorological response. Will we feel comfortable, or maybe we could feel stressed? So let's look at the average rather cool summer in Poland. 20 degrees the air temperature. As we can see on the left part of the presentation, the first line will always be Żory and the second line will always be Wołomin. So on the left part, we see two maps of those two cities showing the biometeorological response. How do we feel the air temperature 20 degrees? It means that with this temperature, let's look, our feeling of biometeorological conditions is still quite comfortable. We feel it as 20, 22, 23 degrees. That temperature does not give us the thermal stress, so we feel absolutely comfortable, and there is no specific sensations, there is no specific need of care or attention or anything like this. But it is enough that the temperature will increase to 30 degrees. 30-degree started to be a regular summer, especially during the heat wave, which is prognosed in Poland after the modeling of country climate change program called Klimada 2.0. We expect that 30 temperature at the mid of the century should be around 30 days yearly. To the end of 21st century, we expect between 50 to 60 days yearly in average, the days above the temperature 25 degrees. So the 30 degree is the beginning of really thermal stress. So what is the reaction of the city fabric? Let's look for those two cities. Again, middle size, 50,000 inhabitants. We can see that 30-degree temperature is strictly linked with uncomfort, very severe heat stress, and the area where the very severe heat stress is appearing is exactly linked with the dense urban tissue. Where are the buildings, where there is a lack of green area, where is the lack of the surface permeability, where is the lack of blue infrastructure, so the lack of water, and the extreme conditions, 35 degrees, which started to be kind of expected weather before the end of 21st century in central Poland. So under this condition, there is no doubt that we all, independently of our age, of our health condition, will need support, will need solutions and strategies to try to decrease our comfort, to find the shelter against the heat stress. Of course, those conditions are described for the external open space. This is not the conditions for the buildings inside, but thinking about the cost of energy and the needs of energy to cool down our buildings, this is another point of view for this problem. What are the solutions and some conclusions? First of all, topoclimate determines the thermal comfort of the city. And topoclimate is manageable. So it is possible to improve the quality of topoclimate to be more suitable to diminish the thermal comfort and to propose the circumstances, the special solutions, which will be more favorable for our city societies, especially for kids and for the seniors. Why? Because the moment when the topoclimate is more suitable for diminuing the thermal stress, the perception of high and very high temperature is lower, the air humidity is higher, the lower is the dustiness of the air, and of course the lower is the noise level. From another perspective, if we will improve the quality of topoclimates, we would need some actions mentioned by Dr. Magdalena Budziszewska, society, common actions, unclogging the surface, improving the retention, introducing trees, plants, canopies, changing the color of the city to change the albedo, to make better the thermal balance of the place. And conclusion number 2, why to model thermal stress? First, we need to recognize what is the answer of the city fabric to heat wave. So we need the strategy. And when we have the results of the modeling, we can propose improving life quality spatial planning. We can identify the city society which is exposed for extremely high thermal stress. And first of all, we can identify the areas of the city where social workers should be targeted to support seniors, to support other groups under the need for health and for support and for education, how to cope with this kind of future. Thank you so much for your attention. And just last word, the picture I'm presenting. This is Singapore. This is one of the universities where in Singapore, they managed to decrease the temperature and improve the natural topoclimate conditions to manage the heat stress without energy consumption. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Aneta, for sharing your expertise and impressive detailed perspective and results. And next we have Anna Gawrońska, Project Coordinator at EIT Health InnoStars, who will present on climate innovation in the healthcare ecosystem. Anna, over to you.
Thank you very much, Piotr. Thank you very much for the invitation and the possibility to be here with you today. So I'm going to share my screen and then I will okay, so hopefully you can see my slides now. I will just make them full screen. Okay, so in fact, here, as you can see, the title of my presentation is slightly different. We as an organization, because it's indeed true that I'm representing EIT Health organization, a European organization. So first of all, I would like to share some information about the organization as such. And what I would like to do is to show you how we as EIT Health can support different organizations and different institutions. And I will show you what I mean by institutions who would like to implement different innovations in the healthcare industry. I will also show you some examples of projects that, in my view, can enhance those climate changes, maybe in a slightly different aspect from the one that has already been presented. But hopefully you will find it interesting as well. So first of all, I'm going to start with some information about our organization. We are, as I said, European organization that is focused on different aspects and on different industries. I'm representing EIT Health, so European Institute of Innovation and Technology, that is mainly dealing with the healthcare sector, with innovations. And in our community, because we keep on saying, and this is indeed true, that we are Europe's largest community that help organizations implement different innovations, and we support entrepreneurs and different enterprises that would like to implement different innovations in the healthcare industry. And we also help those companies and also students who have great ideas, who know how to implement different innovations, but for example, they lack some kind of support. And as I said earlier, those innovations that I'm talking about, they are also located in the field that is connected with climate changes and with green hospitals, for example, and everything that can help be more sustainable and more environment friendly. So as I said, we are a community working with universities, with enterprises, with hospitals as well. And our aim is to educate, to develop, and to help implement different innovations in the healthcare industry. We also help organizations from the financial perspective to develop their solutions and to help them implement these solutions into practical life. So here are some numbers so that you can see that by saying that we are the largest community in Europe, it's not only words, but it's numbers that we have behind us. So as I said, we are a community of students and professionals. We train them. We have different education programs. We also help startups and scale-ups to develop first and then to implement their innovative solutions. We also cooperate with different healthcare entities. We develop new products, new medical devices, for example. I will show you a couple of examples later on. And as mentioned earlier, we also support our partners financially. So whenever anyone has an idea how to improve the healthcare industry, also from the point of view, as I said, for example, sustainability and the influence on our climate and the influence on our environment, such an organization can contact us, and we are more than happy to help them develop and then implement their solutions. We have different programs, and I will show you in a minute one of such programs that can be used, for example, for the sake of development of such a solution that will help in the field of all possible climate issues and sustainability as well. So, as I said earlier, we are a community of different healthcare stakeholders, and here you can see, for example, some Polish universities. This is an example of what we are doing in Poland, because in other countries there are similar activities in Europe, but here in Poland we are a community of different universities, hospitals, and also business. These companies are also supporting us in developing different programs and helping different organizations, as I said, develop and implement innovations in the field of the healthcare industry. You can also see some numbers that are also connected with this participation in our network. And the idea is, in fact, to, because I'm talking about development of different ideas and about implementing them into practical life. So it all starts with an idea that we are trying to develop into a product, into a working solution, whether it's an IT solution or any other product that can be beneficial from the point of view of patients, of citizens, and so on. And this is the way we approach innovations. So anyone can have an idea. This can be either a student or a business organization. As I said, we cooperate with different research institutions, and this is our approach towards driving innovation in Europe. And here you have a link to some of our programs. I will concentrate on one of them in a minute. And of course, because we want to encourage and to support those people, those organizations that have different great ideas in the field of the healthcare industry, we have a very determined learner's path that consists of different steps, where we first of all help develop those ideas, and then we help to educate the community, and in the end, finally, we help to implement practical solutions into real life situations, because this is in fact the aim of all those activities. It's not only about having great ideas, it's about developing them, and it's about implementing them, as I said, into real life situations. Of course, here we are only talking about the healthcare industry. So these are the remaining steps of the whole process that we offer to our partners, to organizations that we are cooperating with. And the final stage is one of the acceleration programs. As you can see, we have a couple of them. And right now I'm going to concentrate on the Jumpstarter program, which is a program devoted to those organizations that have some good ideas and that they would like to validate them in real life and check if these ideas are or could be beneficial for the healthcare industry, depending on the area of activities that we are talking about. So Jumpstarter is one of the programs that is designed to transform technology and science-based innovation or innovative ideas into budding businesses, as we called it. So as I said, whenever we have a great idea, we always need to validate it. We need to verify, also to check if such a solution is not already in place in the healthcare sector. So, but it's also aimed at developing and at implementing a great idea and transforming, as I said, this idea into a business. And here are some numbers again about how big results, if I may say so, we have had so far regarding the number of people that were trained, the number of startups, and these numbers mean concrete people and concrete solutions. And of course, whenever we are developing new solutions, it's also about creating new jobs for people who are going to take care of these businesses. And as I said, on one hand, we are supporting the community from the financial point of view, but on the other hand, as I said, we are helping the community to attract new organizations so that these startups, for example, are able to operate on business conditions as any other enterprise in the healthcare industry. And the structure of EIT Jumpstarter program is also very clear. So we usually start with boot camps. We create different ideas. We try to model them. We try to modify them. Then there is a place or the time for validation. As I said, it's also a very important aspect of the whole process. And then we organize the grand final when anyone can present their idea. And this idea is also confronted with international partners, because it's always good to have the point of view of other stakeholders who might sometimes be critical, but this critique can also be very beneficial from the point of view of improving or maintaining our solution that we have to implement, and that we want to we want to run in the field of different healthcare innovations and, generally speaking, in the healthcare industry. And what does it mean practically? So what do teams of innovators get? So as I said, first of all, it's access to knowledge. We have a great community of partners, as I showed you, representing different areas of the healthcare sector. So the access to network is also guaranteed. What is very important from the business, so to say, point of view is also this access to market. We help organizations, we help startups get this access to market. And as I said a couple of times, we also offer some financial options, and so it's like a win-win situation for anyone that is in fact involved in such an activity. And as I said, Jumpstarter is only one of the options. If you are interested in any other option, you can always visit our website, so all information is included there. And if you have any specific questions, I'm also open to them. If not now, you can always contact me in future and ask individual questions regarding either different projects or also consult any idea that you might have. And now, moving to these ideas, I would like to show you some example of projects that were generated within the EIT Health community. When you first have a look at them, you might have an impression that they are not directly connected with climate changes. But in my view, when we have a look at the results of the project and also at the benefits that we can obtain, we can definitely say that they contribute to protection of our environment, and they also enhance sustainability, for example. So here are two two projects that I would like to shortly talk to you about. So the first one is Smart Diabetes. So it's a project, as you can say by the name of it. So it's aimed at addressing different challenges that were identified in the field of diabetes management programs. And one of the, it's a digital tool supporting patients. What can be observed in this project, these are some very clear benefits. For example, reduction of paper documents, lower cost, and also less waste. So something that is extremely important when we are talking from the perspective on green organizations. I told you that I'm working for EIT Health, but I'm also a researcher at Warsaw School of Economics, where I'm dealing with different digital solutions as well. I'm working with Polish hospitals, and I can observe how much paper is used. I'm not saying that it's wasted, but it's used on daily basis. So whenever we are trying to implement such digital solutions, they can improve also the situation when it comes down to different problems that are connected with climate changes. And another type of project, this is PregnaDigit, so a project that is aimed at pregnant women, so that they can be taken care of at home instead of at hospitals. And here again, we can observe, apart from reduction of costs, also fewer hospital admission, which in turn is connected with better sustainability, with less waste and other benefits as well. So these are two examples of projects, and I would like to end my presentation with indicating some areas of interest, so that any one of you who is interested in joining our community and in presenting their ideas, their innovative ideas to be turned into businesses. So the areas of interest are definitely connected with reduction of waste in hospital environment. We are also concentrating on modular construction of medical entities, something that is becoming more and more popular right now in the healthcare industry. But what is also very important, and we as EIT Health, we are also supporting these ideas. So these are all activities that are fuel energy oriented. Of course, we need this context of the healthcare industry. And last but not least, digitalization of transport and also distribution of medicinal products or medical devices. And it can be both within a healthcare entity, but also outside when we are talking about logistics chain and distribution that is located, so to say, in the healthcare industry as well. And that was it. Thank you very much for your attention. I think I have not included my email address, but you can easily find me on LinkedIn, for example. So I encourage you to get in touch with us, to follow our activities, and also to benefit from our cooperation programs. Thank you very much.
And from University of Warsaw perspective, as a partner of EIT Health, I can add also that this is an active EU initiative, and as a partner recommend exploring opportunities to cooperate with EIT Health. Thank you, Anna, for
Thank you very much.
introducing the possibilities. And last but not least, we have two speakers from the Medical University of Łódź, Aneta Andrzejczyk, Deputy Director of the Office for Research Strategies and Development, and Professor Przemysław Kardas from Medical Adherence Research Center, who will discuss climate change-related health issues at university, exploring challenges and opportunities. Aneta, the stage is yours.
Thank you so much, Piotr. Thank you for the invitation. I will now share my screen. Hopefully you'll see the presentation. So I will be talking about the challenges and opportunities from my own perspective, which is, as you can see, a more practical project management perspective. Later on, Professor Przemysław Kardas will add his more specific researcher point of view. So let's start with discussing the Medical University of Łódź. We are located in the center of Poland, and we are one of the largest medical universities in Poland. We have 3 faculties, that's medicine with dentistry, pharmacy, and health sciences. And we provide teaching in 15 different degree courses. We have 9,000 students. Out of these, approximately 700 are English language students. And what we have, which is quite atypical, is 3 university hospitals. That's why we are talking about it from a very practical perspective. When we think about the challenges connected with climate and with the emission of greenhouse gases, we really know what we are talking about. This is our main campus. This is the Clinical and Didactic Center with one of the largest clinical hospitals, again, in Poland. And this is a challenge and opportunity in one, because you can imagine that this is the whole structure, including the hospital. So when we look at literature, we can read the following. That the Harvard review is saying that the global healthcare sector produces between 4.4 and 5.2% of the world's greenhouse gas emissions. This is more than aviation. Then, when we think about the carbon footprint left by the medical students when compared to general students, it turns out that the carbon footprint is twice as much, because medical students use the infrastructure, use different equipment that is, of course, generating different pollutions, but also they need to transport, they need to move around the city to different locations. So all this produces so much of a burden. Then WHO and OECD estimate that around 30% of the resources spent on healthcare are actually wasted because of the complications that could be avoided, unnecessary treatments, and inefficiencies of administrative nature. So this is a very, very grim diagnosis. We see that in this, we have a problem with infrastructure. We have a problem with the probably behavior, because we need to somehow be able to affect the students' behavior. And then we have a problem with the healthcare management, with the system. So what can we do about it? What is the recommended treatment? Well, there are attempts at the treatment, and I will show you one such attempt. This is a university perspective. So it's the Medical University of Łódź EcoUmed program. So this is larger than just a project. It incorporates many different projects, and it incorporates those perspectives that I gave you: the infrastructure, the behavioral, and also the managerial. And what do we want to do in this social responsibility climate? Well, we had 4 main goals, and I would like to present you now with the results of our activities. And the first one is obviously working on what we have already there. So the modernization of buildings, thermal modernization, but not only, because we are tackling a variety of different systems. So we want to improve the efficiency of the already existing infrastructure. So that's that, and you can see that the total of our investments has already exceeded 25 million zloty. So you can see here on this slide the results of the activity. There are other goals. The second goal is creating new green infrastructure. That means building passive, building intelligent buildings, smart buildings. And here we show you the building that is totally passive. It's called Molecolab. It includes low energy laboratories. It includes many renewable energy solutions. And the interesting thing and the lesson learned is that the location of sensors in such a building is of utmost importance. So this is an interesting result of this sort of an experimentation. Another thing that I would like to present you is our goal of looking for new solutions. So this is tackling innovation and developing it in such a way that it involves also the parties, the stakeholders that are not always taken into consideration. That is patients and citizens, as well as end users, such as doctors, such as students. Here you can see that we have included the living lab with its medical kiosks. So medical kiosks serve us. Every person who can enter the building can actually use that and check their blood pressure, their EKG, but also their stress levels. So this is quite interesting because here we can actually observe the situation also in terms of climate anxiety. So this is one thing. We try to perform our innovation activities in the co-creating manner. But what we also want to do is we introduce into the hospital system the value-based healthcare management style. So that means that we could take into consideration the benefit of the patient at the very end of the story. We digitalize the patient-oriented healthcare in the project that's called Health Labs for Value. So it again includes the living lab model. But what we also try to do is we want to introduce the behavioral change on the systemic on the systemic level. So this is the level of university, and this is the level of hospital. And when Anna was mentioning the digitalization of certain procedures at the hospital, this is exactly what we are doing, both at the level of university and hospital. So we digitalize and we try to get rid of the paper forms as much as possible. So this is the behavioral change on the level of the organization. How about going to the personal behavioral change? There is also the promoting but also facilitating this change on a personal level. So what we want to show you is the fact that we have introduced the charging stations, this bicycle parking, because we were talking at the beginning of my speech today that there was the need for decreasing the level of greenhouse emissions of the pollution produced by both the employees but also the students. There are also water dispensers, such simple thing as promoting the behavior of not only drinking more water, but also not using the plastic bottles other than reusable plastic bottles. Here you can see that we have one such bottle that is actually given to everybody who starts working at the university. I believe that this is also distributed among the students. Here you can also see another project example from Erasmus+, Awake Mind, Absolve Future. We were discussing the changes, the personal changes with high school students. So we are trying to go back, go not only be at the level of the university and academic community, but we want to go and impact others, both local community, but also communities that collaborate with us. So this is this perspective. There is, of course, one other of which I cannot forget, which is the project perspective. Here you can see one of the projects that we are currently implementing. It's called Clean Air. This is about AI innovations for climate, air quality, and respiratory health. And here I just want to briefly mention that we see plenty of challenges and opportunities in terms of implementing highly interdisciplinary collaboration. There is huge diversity of research perspectives, of different data, also big data, many different problems that we need to face, and this is actually the combination of both the climate and health research. When you look at the partnership, I made an overview of who's there and what representatives we have. So we have the medical field, we have AI, we have also specialists in climate monitoring, we have the social perspective, and also very important, communication and policy making, because only then can we really expect some changes to occur. So this is the moment when I will thank you for your attention, and I will introduce Professor Przemysław Kardas, who will be presenting the perspective of a researcher who has found an opportunity in a big challenge. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. And as soon as I am able to open my presentation, which I hope can be done at the moment. Can you see it, by the way?
Niestety jeszcze nie.
Okay. Okay. I was blocked by the system, hence I believe now I will be able to show it. Does it work now?
Jeszcze nie. Katarzyna, Justyna, możemy prosić o
Tak,
pomoc?
już.
O, już chyba. Teraz powinno być lepiej.
Okay.
Thank
It's
you.
not perfect solution because these slides are supposed to be movable, but let us live with that. What I would like to show to you is how a researcher like me who never dreamt about joining the community of those interested in ecology got interested in these in a first-person manner. It was quite unexpected on one hand, but on the other hand, I found out this link currently quite strong. So let me start with my basic background. For as long as 25 years, me and my team in the Medication Adherence Research Center at Medical University of Lodz are studying the question of so-called medication adherence. As you can see, normally we expect that patients who are provided with the prescriptions are getting the drugs. If we follow the slide, we can see that unfortunately not always this happens. Sometimes the prescription never ends with the dispensation of the drug. The patients who are provided with the drug, who buy the drugs in the pharmacies, community pharmacies, they start the treatment, but in some other cases, they do not. Please progress. And finally, those who started continue systematically, but those are few because the other patients take the drugs in their own way, taking from time to time, getting only partial benefits of the treatments. Please progress. And this is what attracted our attention for a very long period of time. Please progress. Because it is this question which defines the effectiveness of the treatment. Now, if we progress a little bit, collectively, you'll see what constitutes so-called medication non-adherence. Not so fast. Please go back. But part of these, namely these drugs which patients have obtained and never used in a proper way, are collected by the patients and constitute unused drugs which soon expire. These go toward waste, and this is this link that we found out unexpectedly to exist in between the patient behavior as well as the question of the environment pollution and the question of the ecology. Now, let us go to the next slide. Okay, so on average, these problems with patients executing the medical advice are not infrequent, just the contrary. As you can see, as many as half of the patients in some way deviate from the advice therapy. Please go on. This leads to these unused drugs. In fact, the data currently available prove that just half of the all collected unused drugs come from this very phenomenon of non-adherence. Okay, go on. Unfortunately, which is even more frightening, these unused drugs are disposed of in environmentally harmful way. Not only in our country, just the contrary, in a lot of other countries, also very rich developed countries, the problem of that sort exists because patients are having no idea what to do with these unused drugs, and they are simply putting this either to the household waste, to the bin, or put it to the toilet and allow it to reach the sewage, which in both of the cases is quite harmful for the environment. Hence, non-adherence contributes seriously to ecological crisis, especially if you consider that some of the drugs are quite powerful, can influence the living organism, can concentrate in aquatic ecosystems, can lead even to antibiotic resistance, which can strike back human beings. Okay, so let us go to the next slide. And this is what we found out, the basis of our interest in this very specific area. Hence, what we are trying to do at the moment is to design and execute the study, which will collect the information from all the European member states, from the experts across Europe, in terms of what are the methods being used in these countries of Europe to minimize this negative effect. And first of all, to find out what are the systems built in and executed in the countries to help them to collect the drugs in environmentally safe way. Unfortunately, this is still not the case. So we want to address the loopholes, we want to address the gaps, and provide these places with the good practices which are collected from some other places. Please progress. What we also want to do is to inform the policy recommendations. Hence, we will go to the next slide to see that with this background in mind, we entered a project, one more project, making the list of the projects of our university even more complete. Aneta has already mentioned a couple of them. Nevertheless, this very project is a very interesting one because the IHI initiative is binding together the academia as well as the industry. This very one, which possesses the acronym of ENCORE, is the one with as many as over 50 different partners from 15 different countries. And finally, it's going to help minimize the negative impact of pharmacological treatment and the pharmacological production and use of the drugs over the environment. Hence, our idea fits this project very well, and I guess we will find a lot of collaboration from the other partners in this very project. At the moment, if we go to the next slide, you will see that our aims are quite ambitious. Can we progress? Our aims are quite ambitious. If we progress a little, you will be able to even to take a look at the QR code that drives you to the information about this event, which is coming this June 26. We are planning to organize a high-level meeting in Brussels to announce the results of this very study and to allow all the stakeholders, all the policymakers, politicians, healthcare providers, professionals, but also simply patients, mass media, and so learn about these findings, which in fact are of interest of every European citizen. Because every one of us at a certain moment becomes a patient, are using the drugs and may either pollute the environment or help sustain it in a best available way. So should you be interested in this very specific project, you can follow us. At the moment, I need to finish driving your attention to these initiatives of Medical University of Lodz, which can stand for some sort of exemplars of how the universities, because of the mass and because of the internal will and ambitions, collaborate towards bettering the environment. Thank you so much. Perhaps at the next slide. Okay, next slide is not available. So you can Google us easily wherever, especially in the LinkedIn.
Thank you very much, Aneta. Thank you, Professor, for a view from another angle for the problem and contribution to our discussion. Let's move to the Q&A session. Thank you to all our speakers for their insightful presentation. And now comes an opportunity for our audience to engage directly with our experts. I will now hand over the stage to my colleague, Mansour Esmailzai, representing also Center for Socially Responsible Innovation at Faculty of Management at University of Warsaw, who will moderate the final part of our webinar Q&A and bring closing remarks. Mansour, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Piotr, and also thank you very much to all our esteemed speakers for bringing such interesting topics. So some of them even was eye-opener for myself. So before moving with the questions, I noticed Bohan made one comment about the recording of the session. Yes, the session is recorded, and I understand it will be available after the session. So you can go again and watch this very interesting presentation. Myself, I will do this. So to all audience, so the session is recorded. So we can start with the questions. I also noticed it was very interesting discussion in a chat session, and already some of our esteemed speaker replied to some of this question, but we can go again. They can elaborate further on this. So what kind of vector-borne infection diseases can we expect to have in Poland? Any of the speakers? Yes, Veronica.
Thank you very much for this question. And the answer isn't very optimistic again. So it's basically all kinds of vector-borne diseases. Of course, it's depending on the time frame because some of the tropical vector-borne infectious diseases are already in Europe amongst people not non-traveling. What does it mean? Is that that means that the vectors, like for example, tiger mosquitoes, can survive under our climate conditions. So in our climate zone already, due to changed global temperature, rising of the temperatures. The same thing concerns, for example, ticks. Maybe you also noticed that ticks are much more popular also in the cities. 20 or 30 years ago, it wasn't like this. And for example, in Poland, we have noted over 500% rise in the last, let's say, 12 years. And right now, there are noted over 25,000 of cases every year, and it was less than 5,000. Of course, the diagnostics also have improved. But on the other hand, we can see a rising, like the highly rising numbers of these diseases. If you follow the trends in global health, you have also heard about the outbreaks in the South America of dengue fever. It's really horrifying. So knowing that the climate change accelerates, it's really hard to predict what's going to happen in the next 20 years, but we can for sure say that the very big risk for now, speaking about the vector-borne diseases, is Lyme disease, and developing risk concerns malaria, dengue fever, West Nile virus, and also this brain inflammation caused by the ticks. So this is the short list. Unfortunately, it can be longer. What's very important is that the health sector is prepared, both when it comes to raising awareness of people that are in risk, and also by providing prophylaxis when, of course, it's where it's possible, and kind of raise their ability to cure these diseases and to cope with this developing problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Veronica. Aneta, you want to add to this discussion?
Yes, David. Since I'm a geographer working with epidemiological risk under the environmental anthropization, and we work at the international group with the project in field of planetary health, Horizon Europe. And considering last 10 years of experience, here are some research results. We published in 2019 article saying that there is a high risk in Europe, already confirmed, the tiger mosquito mentioned by Veronica, which was contaminated by dengue discovered in Romania. We do speak now from south of France, from Montpellier, and last year we had the confirmation of several cases of local dengue in our region. The tiger mosquito is a piece of the social ecosystem here now. One of the risks under the temperature increase yearly is that tiger mosquito started to colonize the Central Europe ecosystems. This is very aggressive species, I would say. And to confirm also some scientific results, something like 5-6 years ago, my colleagues found the tiger mosquito in Lower Silesia. So it exists. This kind of risk will increase, especially when the vegetation season started to be longer, and there is a shift in ecosystem structure, which is coming after the new frame for the yearly temperature, when some of the plants, some of the species the new circumstances is more favorable, and for some bench of the species, this external ecological barrier started to be quite important, and they are erased. So, if to say anything after Veronica, I think it's enough. It's enough scary.
Thank you very much. So now maybe we can move to the next question: how to deal with the fear of climate change crisis. So the answer to the first question was just to raise a lot of fear and worrying. So now how to deal with this?
I guess this is a question for me. So first, thank you, Gabriela Nowak. Gabrysia posted already on the chat resources for this, and there is an excellent guide done by the Australian Psychological Association. In Australia, they, of course, get to deal with very visible impact of climate change, also with children, parents, and stuff like that. So they prepared really good guidelines, and they can be found under this link. And the very short question is that there are two types of things happening, and one is basically for most of the people the kind of dealing with stress, anxiety, and worry is by finding your own way to basically approach this, and if possible by taking constructive actions and working with others, so being in community and communication, are things that really help. But there is a small group of people, for them, anxiety and depression are basically clinical. So they have anxiety systems, which are kind of anxiety disorder symptoms, or they have depression that is so severe that, and actually depression is both common and very serious illness. So for those people, actually contacting some professional help and seeking therapy is also a good option. Because regardless of how realistic this fear is, actually lots of people also deal with what is symptoms of disorders, and in that case, it's really good to seek professional help, because these things really help. So that would be my answer. But we cannot, as those feelings are common, we can now send everybody for therapy. Therapy is also very expensive. That's the thing, and not really good available in Poland and in most countries. So this kind of community building and community help is probably and will be more and more important in the future. So we also need to build communities to help each other. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Magdalena. So maybe we can move to the third question. The US is getting out of researching climate change and its consequences. How do you think this will impact the anger? Will it make ordinary people more active or more depressed? I think this is again to you, Magdalena. We can start with you, and then we can go also to other colleagues.
I'm curious what other people think, but of course this is one kind of question that nobody knows. But as a rule, if something is happening, this often sparks kind of counteraction. So probably some people will get depressed while what others will organize. We see people in US organizing already in science and universities, because this is clearly also kind of anti-science thing. But what I think in terms of research, you cannot stop climate change research. Basically, also governments cannot, hopefully so, really impact universities. So University of California, San Diego, and other will for sure research climate change and keep doing their work. What they can do is not to fund their own agencies, which is NOAA and NASA, So we kind of maybe lose access to this kind of data, which is again important because much of our weather prediction is dependent on this. However, a few years ago, Europe has already made steps, and we basically in European Union have our own like climate information and research data access for citizens. This is called Copernicus services. You can go online and find it. So another side of this is that other countries and Europe will probably be more active and more independent in their own communication. Like we cannot leave everything to NASA now. So Europe is basically going to strengthen their work on this.
So it somehow it's highlighting that we are resilient. So no matter what will happen, so still the research will go, and there is there is countries that is still toward climate change research. And to Aneta, how do you deal with emotion caused by light and noise pollution in the city? I think it's again the city planning and the geographical aspect of this issue.
I would say this is a question to both of us, to Magdalena and me. I can say something from the technical point of view, technological point of view. For instance, about the light and the noise and the pollution there. In south of France, I do have the shelters which let me isolate my flat from the daylight or from the nightlight. This is a simple solution we can adapt easily. And this light pollution is a big problem because that influence our ability to get the night rest. And this is significantly written in many publications. How about the noise and the pollution here? Again, we are coming back to the green and the blue infrastructure. When we will dig at the positive aspects of existence of the trees, especially the old big trees at the city tissue, at the city, at our cities, it is well known the filter for the noise and the filter for the pollution. It is even given the metrics that each, if I remember well, half hectare of green area is protecting against something like 2.5 kilo of the air pollutant at our city air. So there are solutions, but again, it should be after the good spatial planning. It should go after the community engagement. It should go after also individual help. Magdalena, I will be so happy from your perspective to say a few more words.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, just before going to Magdalena, we still have a list of questions. So I would appreciate if you can, just summarize in 1-2 minutes your answers. Thank you very much.
Okay, being short. So yes, for a lot of people, actually noise and light pollution is kind of, they cannot stand it. I mean, also, especially a lot of neurodivergent people, like people with autism and who are especially sensitive for this. So on the private level, people are coping by mastering their private environment. Many already were in the cities kind of, you wear glasses, you wear noise cancelling earphones, but what we should do at the collective level is basically to prepare regenerative spaces, so spaces that enable people to rest from this overstimulation. And this could be green spaces, but this could be also spaces in the building. I think universities have something to do, like you have a room where people can basically rest, which is silent, which doesn't have much light. So we should probably design those spaces also in schools, that would be a good thing. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I see Professor Kardas also have a point.
Yes, I would like to address the point already mentioned a minute ago in terms of the beneficial role of the greenery. In fact, in my area, one of the methods of preventing unused drugs to happen is to not to prescribe the drugs, but rather go for so-called green prescribing, which is in fact letting the people interact with the greenery, which proves to be quite helpful, for example, in mild psychiatric disorders. So this idea is absolutely of great value.
Thank you very much. So let's move to the question number 5. How can urban planning strategy help mitigate thermal stress in cities, especially in Poland? Are there any already existing or planned to be introduced in the following year? I think, again, it's to you, Aneta. We can start with you.
I'm very happy to see such an interest. The philosophy of green and blue infrastructure is already 25 years old, so it's a nice anniversary. This is also very well known instrument to upgrade the quality of life at the cities. And in Poland, actually, I work with NGOs to prepare strategies for adaptation to climate change in Polish cities, these medium-sized cities. And what we are proposing is the analysis of the sensibility of the city space and the solutions, how to make them better maintained, how to build a better environment for the society. And to Professor Przemysław, yes, we are planning the green spaces, the parks, the water fountains, and so on, also because of the impact for the general well-being.
Thank you. So in general, is toward to make more green and sustainable.
Yes, and include that to the special planning, and include also the local societies to be involved in these actions.
I see. So let's move also to question number 6. Is it possible to join EIT Health as the university?
Yes. Yes, definitely it's possible. We have already heard some examples, and I hope that you have also seen it in my presentation. So if there is any university that you would like to join, please contact me directly. Thank you.
Yeah, indeed. Medical University of Łódź and University of Warsaw already partner with EIT Health as a university. So servers do use a lot of energy. What is the real cost and vast differences between going digital instead of staying analog? Any of esteemed speakers want to comment?
I could refer to this question. I would answer that it definitely depends. Of course, there are some numbers showing different aspects of implementing digital solutions. And of course, we always have to consider pros and cons. But on the other hand, not all digital solutions need big servers that use a lot of energy. So I would say that it really depends. And what is also important about digital solutions from my perspective as a researcher, when I help hospitals implement different digital solutions, it's also, on one hand, it's the aspect of climate changes, but on the other hand, it's also patient safety. So this is extremely important. We have many numbers, many evidences showing that when implementing digital solutions, we can reduce the number, for example, of medication errors. So there are different aspects, and it's I would say that it really depends on the situation and on the digital solution. So this is my quick answer to this question. Thank you.
Yes, Professor Kardas.
If I may add a quick point to this, let me tell you that no matter whether we are going digital or non-digital, we are still using computers. Of course, this is a trick, but as a practicing professional in the area of the healthcare, to be honest, I'm using the computers all the times. So it doesn't matter that much whether we are adding to this use one more use of digital something, because in fact we are using the computers no matter whether we are realizing this or not, in fact, all the time.
Thank you very much. So now let's move to get the last question also for this Q&A session. How can innovation in the healthcare sector be accelerated?
Well, I can see my name here, but I presume that everyone could contribute to this individual question. But as I have already indicated my answer in the chat box earlier, sorry for that. I was not aware of the fact that we are going to have this discussion right now. So I mentioned the financial support. Definitely, this is what hospitals need, and this is what we need as society, as community. Transparent rules also on the legal level of implementing different solutions. I would also say standards, especially interoperability standards when it comes down to different IT solutions. And I also mentioned one rule that I miss sometimes when we are talking about developing and implementing digital solutions in healthcare. This is an American rule. It's okay to fail, because if we want to develop something, first we have to test it to validate. And this is in fact the approach that we are promoting at EIT Health. So this is what I would say quickly, what steps or what conditions need to be met in order to accelerate innovations in the healthcare sector. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So with this question, we are going to conclude the Q&A session. So for the remaining question, I believe it's like 3 questions, so you will receive by email and also expert answers to your questions. So to wrap up to the session, to the webinar, so for today, we started to look to the climate crisis in a health sector from macro level. International institution, what the countries are doing, and what are the impact of climate crisis and climate change on health aspect. Then we move to a specific aspect of climate change in a health. We look from the lens of psychology, how climate change impacting the opinion and also the psychological aspect of individual. Then we move to the human geography and city planning, urban planning perspective. We look from that angle also how this climate change impacted the health on a general level. And we move afterward to a micro level, to the university level, how a university can be more sustainable. At the same time, to provide the health service from another side to reduce the carbon emission and the other negative impact by going more circular and with the sustainability practices. And we complemented all this presentation with the EIT health activity, the largest health community here in Europe, very active, and some of partners that presented today are part of this network. And we highly recommend all of you to take some time, take a look to the offering of EIT Health that's have on different level, students, to the expert, to the company level, and also to the university and society level. So with this, we are going to conclude to the session. Thank you very much, everyone, for your active involvement, for your question, and also to our esteemed speakers and organizer of this event. Just to mention once again, this webinar, Health and Climate Change, is organized by University of Warsaw as a part of project One Comprehensive Research Intensive European University, which is funded by the Erasmus Plus program within the task disseminating the value of green, digital, and resilient for EU Plus Alliance. And the 4EU Plus Alliances is a composed of 8 comprehensive research intensive public universities. University of Warsaw, Charles University, University of Milan, University of Geneva, University of Copenhagen, Sorbonne University, Heidelberg University, Paris Panthéon Assas University. The 4EU plus alliances has one vision: to build a truly integrated European university system that set a new standard of cooperation in education, research, innovation, and outreach. With this, we are going to close this session. Thank you very much and have a nice afternoon.